Hello there, and welcome to the Kirk Minahan wrap-up show for February 3rd, 2021. Today's show was called Simple Steve, in which Kirk kind of went at Steve for I don't know if everyone's seen the trivia performance that was released yesterday, but Steve contributed almost nothing. He kept saying, Lady Gaga, Lady Gaga. Everyone knows Lady Gaga. Everyone remembers that halftime show. So I am joined today by Tim and Canton, my usual Wednesday guest. He took the Wednesday off was it last week or was it the week before?
Yeah, last week. Had to shift to Friday.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you too. I'm glad to have you back. Thanks. So let's jump right into it. So today was a shorter episode, an hour, 6 minutes, and the majority of it was like shit on Steve Day. You know, every once in a while you have a shit on Mike Day, you have a shit on Steve Day, you have a shit on the Minifans Day. Today was a shit on Steve Day, and Steve took it pretty well. I mean, I don't see Steve making the same remarks he did today a year ago about the same thing.
I was going to say exactly the same. He definitely tried to defend himself. For sure. He definitely tried to stick up for himself. But in the end, you know, his contention was, I never said I was good at this. But Kirk's point was, and he said it many times, it's not that you said you weren't good. It's the air about you. And Steve does give that off. He definitely gives off a vibe that he is knowledgeable. He's obviously intelligent, but that doesn't always correlate to memory. They can be exclusive.
I do think at one point today, Steve said, you know, as we kind of get more enshrined in the dozen world, they'll make more categories, you know, about us. They know Kirk is golf. They know Jared is baseball. They literally have a picture of the bicentennial for the dozen for Steve. They have no fucking idea.
No. Maybe they're thinking movies, Justin. I don't know. I'm with you because they've said this many times. Barstool doesn't like to do politics, contrary to sometimes the way they act. But on that show, you've seen a lot of them.
Yes,
it seems like there's never political questions, right?
There will be political questions, but it will be like this president was also the leader.
So that's
of the
more
House.
History.
Yeah. So I mean, they don't go into like recent stuff. They don't go into Trump stuff or Biden shit.
So what would you say? What would you say are Steve's strengths in a trivia game? I would have. It's a presumption. I would have thought geography.
I would say American history.
Yeah, I would think history and cooking. He fancies himself quite the cook.
Yes, he could know.
But does that mean food? Does that translate to
that until now? That's a great point.
Because we know Jared is Carabas, as Portnoy likes to call him. He's single threaded. It's not even sports. It is baseball.
Yes.
And wrestling.
Yes.
And that's his thing.
And I mean, to be fair, the geography questions, KB is like insane when it comes to those. God. I've seen probably 12 or 13 episodes. And the ones with KB, I don't think he's ever gotten a geography question wrong. I mean,
really? That's impressive.
Yeah, it's just a guaranteed 3 points.
Yeah, they're not questions like what's the capital of Kansas. These that question yesterday, that was freaking tough. And the other thing is it's like Kirk was saying, you know, you could sit there and try to guess. It's not the same as being under pressure. It's not even close.
Oh, 100%. Like we'll get to that in a couple of minutes, but what I do want to say is I'm not sure. So Kirk said today, Steve, study geography, you're going to be the geography guy. So I'm not.
I don't know how you study geography, by the way. That's such a wide-ranging thing.
You know, find Pocahontas and start mapping out everything. But so I believe I don't think geography is a common category on the show. I believe it's specifically done for KB. So if their next opponent is, which it sounds like it might be, if their next opponent is a rematch. Then yes, Steve should study up on geography. But if not,
I'm sorry to cut you off, but don't you think that Jeff seems to be pretty, he wants to give people the opportunity to answer. You know, there's nothing worse on a trivia show than nobody getting an answer, right? It's awful. But to your original point, don't you think he would like to have something that Steve could potentially answer, and doesn't seem like geography would be it. So hopefully he understands it's maybe cooking, and again, the Peloponnesian War or something. Who the hell knows? But Kirk flat out said you can't say that KB had an advantage when they gave Kirk golf questions, and he admitted it. I thought that was great. He said, "Bullshit. We got golf questions," which he knew. He only had a slight hesitation on one of those questions, and he said, "That's our strength. We got golf questions." So that takes that off the table. It's gonna be You think Steve's gonna be rattled the next one?
I think the pressure's on now. I mean, before it was kind of just I'm the producer of the show. I'm here. I'm not really expected to do much. Now the heat's on. Kirk said today, when there is a dozen tournament, he wants to win. He wants to win this tournament.
What was he pissed for? What did he say? 2 hours?
What did he say?
How long did he say he was pissed for last night afterwards?
Oh, he said he was tossing and turning in his sleep. I was tossing and turning in my sleep. I only got 12 hours 2 nights ago. It was last night. It was tough.
That's awful, Justin.
So, but anyway, it was. So I think the pressure is going to be on Steve, and I do think he'll step up. It's tough with trivia because it's not like they give you a sheet to study beforehand. It's just here's a role that Steve might be able to play, which is okay. Jared is Bernie Cabo. He's absolutely right. I actually equate him to more of a postseason Mark Bellhorn. They both played a role, and they both stepped up when no one else could do it, and that was it. They didn't do anything else. So Jared's perfect for that, and he said that's his role. Kirk knows it all. Kirk needs help sometimes to take pressure off him, and if Steve can't answer it, hopefully what he can do is know when it's not an answer that they're pondering. When you got to come up with an answer, I guess in the end it doesn't help. But if someone were to say one or the other, and Steve knows for sure it's not one of them, if you're not going to give an answer, it's about halfway there. But that, I know you're segueing it. It's a good way to go into Frank the Tank, because Frank was adamant about 3 questions. Well, and he wouldn't let go of the freaking Bon Jovi question. I hate Bon Jovi, and even I knew that was Bon Jovi. Well, give me a freaking break. The last thing I want to say, though, is I do like how on today's show, Kirk said we used our lifelines wrong. We should not have muted Frank at the end. Frank does not know celebrities. He does not know pop culture. If they muted Nick while KB was on his phone, they would have been fumbling for everything. It would have been
good strategy. Yeah, but that's what the second time.
Yeah, no.
So learning the ropes. Yeah, I love the game. Love the game.
So let's transition into Frank the Tank. Like you said, he was completely upset about the Bon Jovi thing. He kept bringing it up. He kept
and share.
At one point, he was like, "What's the category going to be? Mathematics? What's your question? 2 + 2? What's our question? What's the square root of 9,000?" Which is actually a very simple question. 30.
He was bugging the shit out of me on that game. But today, when he was on the show, I love that Kirk had him on. I thought that was awesome. I love that Kirk talked about what was clipped out, and he said, "Hey, it's not my show. Jeff can do what he wants." But it was great that they talked about what he had said to Frank, because if you've seen a picture of Frank, he's not long for a potential. He's a heart attack waiting to happen.
Yeah. So I think they kind of kept that on, because you don't want that floating around the internet if something were to happen. So, but he called into it. He was a good sport and everything. He seems to be, calmed down. I don't know if it's a character he's playing.
I don't think it is. He seemed, I don't know. It's the first time I've seen or heard him, but he seemed pretty genuine. I mean, you heard what he does, Justin. He does reviews of soda, a tonic, and pairings. Pepsi with what? Pepsi with pizza, but Sprite with chicken. Kind of like wine.
I'm not sure if you've seen. I forget. I'm blanking on what it's called. Hank produces it for Barstool, but it's the game show where they play like giant Jenga. Have you ever seen that?
I the only Barstool content I consume is if it has to do with Kirk.
Well,
that's it.
If you get the chance, and to anyone who's listening, if you get the chance, look up Frank the Tank Jenga distraction, because he is fucking annoying as hell during this, because you're supposed to be like, he brings in these duck horns and all this shit.
Oh, he does. To make the person twitch or whatever.
To try to get the person to be like,
I hate guys like that. And Kirk was right. Shut up. Shut the fuck up, Frank. Like, he kept going on, and Jeff had to tell him, Frank, just because, basically what he was saying was just because you can't read the question and interpret it the way it's written is not the fault of the game. It said 26 headliners, didn't say 26 years. We all fell for it at first, but then a couple of people grasped onto it. There's multiple headliners throughout a Super Bowl show, but he would not let Cher go. Wouldn't let. And my favorite part, though, when he called in today, hands down, my favorite part is when they mentioned that Frank, I think he asked Steve if they were going to be in the office. Yeah. He has no clue who these guys are. That's awesome.
I like that. Well, I mean, he's kind of new, and I listened to the Dave Portnoy show, and when they hired him, they were like, we might have to put a limit on how many times Frank is allowed in the office, just because he just wanders around and he finds mischief to do. So I can understand what
did he say, Justin, was the reason that he initially got hired part-time? What was it?
He was screaming about the Mets.
Oh, that's right. He's the Mets guy. Now I remember seeing him. I remember when Barstool first started promoting him. I do remember seeing some tweets of him going bonkers over the Mets.
Yeah. So
what a shit organization to be supporting too.
And then he became full-time in November. So
he's a character, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's it's awesome. So
now last question on that.
Sure.
Head to head, because we all know Kirk is, what did he say? He's answered 20-something questions on his own. I think it was
24 out of.
Wow.
He got 24 points or something like that.
Amazing, right? But head to head, who wins? Frank the Tank or Steve?
Oh, in trivia?
Mm-hmm. Just general trivia.
That's not a question. I mean, that's Frank the Tank.
I'm with you. I think he destroys them.
I've watched. That team is no joke. They've beaten PFT and Brandon Walker.
Is PFT and Brandon first place?
No, they started it as you create a team to take them on, and then it kind of moved on to, okay, now this team can face this team instead of this team just always facing PFT.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Yeah.
That team, I believe, has beaten Brandon Walker's team like 7 or 8 times, which is very, very impressive. So,
and that leads me to another one of my favorites from today. I know we're going to get to is the calls, but 2 of my favorites calling in today, KB and Copper.
Love Copper Toodle.
Yes, I do too. And I love Nick and KB. I could listen to those 2 all day. I was kind of bummed out that KB didn't mention if he was up for Employee of the Month, but he has moved over to Quincy from Hingham. So about a 10-minute shorter commute from Manhattan to Quincy every day.
And I know during that call, Kirk said, he's like, oh man, this is like, he's like, oh, I thought he'd play along and say something stupid. I find it so funny that the first time he answered was like Saudi Arabia. The second time,
right. He actually thought about it and got it right.
In Wyoming, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Loved hearing him on today. Hopefully Nick will call in soon too. But Copper Copper reappeared today.
Yes.
Shot out of the gun.
It's been a while since we've seen Copper. This is kind of, I mean, I was not under the impression that he's no longer the agent of Blind Mike.
Yes.
So
it was news for the Miniverse.
That news. But yeah, no, the calls were very, very, very funny today. I think that
well, there was a topic, right? For those who haven't listened yet.
Yep,
the topic was if you hate Steve, today's your day to call. Steve haters only, I believe that one of the tweets said.
Trump called in today too, which is
my God, that was fantastic. Haven't heard from the president in quite a while. It was great to hear him.
And I like that one point. He's like, "Correct, you told me to call in with Steve doing again."
And the deference that they pay to Trump. Kirk always stops whenever the president says, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. President." He always tries to avoid interrupting him. The way that he speaks with Donald J. Trump, it's just the way he talks to him is funny as hell. He's just a different person. It's great. Yeah, it's outstanding the way that they play off of each other. And Steve too. They both just sit back and let the president talk.
Well, I think Steve will ask a question that I'm not sure Donald J. Trump is prepared to answer. Steve would sometimes ask a question like, so what's with this Q people and the conspiracy to kidnap the prince of this country? And
he'll say, stick to the subject, Steve. So, there's an old adage, politics makes for strange bedfellows, and to think that DJT and Steve are probably more aligned, but DJT politically, but DJT certainly seems to have a more friendly relationship with Kirk.
Have more chemistry together, I would
Yes, thank you. Chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah. So the callers today, I mean, they were great. I didn't expect callers today, to be honest. I thought Wednesday was kind of the no call day. I'm sure they'll take calls tomorrow because if I remember correctly, they did not take calls on Monday. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So actually tonight, I'm sorry,
tonight.
I said
yeah.
tomorrow. It's actually being filmed tonight with 1B Michael Geary to wrap this up. Mike's coming back for a Friday episode. Kirk said he was thinking about who we should bring in. And he was like, I was going through the list. I was like, Quantum Week boys. It was like, fuck it. We'll just bring Mike in.
Always love to hear Kirk's mindset as he works through something and what he'll throw out there. Because, everybody's wondering, who's he going to have? Who's going to have? I just love when he mentions that. And in the end, I think he knew the whole time it was going to be Mike. And looking forward to hearing Mike. I know a lot of people are very happy for Mike, me included, but they also love hearing Mike on the Monday shows. But
I think the tables have turned a little bit on Mike. I think people are starting to get back to the older ways of. I'm not saying that everyone's going to turn on him. I'm just saying before in January it seemed to be universal love. Yay, Mike!
Sure, yeah, he hadn't been heard in a long time. Yeah,
I think it's moving more towards the center of where it was before, where some people love Mike, some people hate Mike.
Well, when you say hate, are you talking about Sheldon?
I'm talking about Sheldon. I'm talking about Ned. I
didn't take Sheldon's rant as hating Mike. I think I took it more as he'd like to hear more Mike and wish that he were on more instead of just that one day a week. I don't know. That's the way I took it, but I don't think there's a lot of Mike hate, but I do think you're right. The pendulum is swinging back a little towards the center. I mean, Mike, what was Mike's response to Kirk when he asked him to come on? He had one question.
What'd I do?
No, he just wrote why. That's my.
Yeah, I can just imagine him being like, "Fuck!
What did I do wrong?" Right.
God.
You get where he's coming from because it's usually just once a week. That's what they've worked out, and he gets to promote on Mondays. But that was a great response from Mike.
Yeah,
looking forward to it. Though I am looking forward to hearing his
reactions
and stuff.
I think it should be a fun night. So, is there anything else? Oh, let's get to this week in Kirk Minahan show history.
Kirk Minahan history, and then I have an announcement.
Ooh,
no, I'm not having another kid. Oh, those days. Oh.
Is there a certain website we can?
Soon? No, not yet.
We can pay you to maybe.
They'll never be. No. You mean Cameo or anything? No. But I am putting out a KMS History website, and it'll never be anything but free. So this week, the week of February 1st through the 5th, KMS History. It was quite a week because it was building up to Madawaska. And actually, I cut the shows that I looked into because that Madawaska trip was just something separate. So I figured we'd cover it next week. Anyway, beginning of that week, that was when Mike went to the truck, the Fenway, when the truck leaves. Truck day, excuse me. Mike went out to truck day. And he was told to stay on the sidewalk, so for everybody's safety. This was also when we heard from Liz Gonzalez again, and this was her take on the show on 2-1. Her take on the Aaron Hernandez suicide, not his murders, but how it affected Aaron's fiance,
that's right,
Shayana Jenkins, and her daughter. It was such a ridiculous, pathetically stupid take.
I remember Kirk saying, well, how do you think, I forget the guy's name he murdered, but how do you think his family felt?
Yeah, I know. I could see his face. He used to wear the scally cap. Yeah. Who was the boyfriend of Shayana's sister, of her sisters, of yes. Shayana's sister. It's just sickening. It's sickening how Liz Gonzalez was all sympathetic for someone who covered up a crime, obstructed justice, stood by her man. And Kirk mentioned he hates the term ride or die. Hates it. So just keep that in mind when you talk to Kirk. This was also when Steve had a... Yeah, use that with him. See what he says. This is when Steve had a massive mispronunciation of Justin. Do you remember John Stamos?
Yeah, is he a
Full House.
Yeah, I was going to say Full House.
Do you remember who his wife was? Beautiful woman.
No, I wasn't a big Full House
All
guy.
right, so it might have been before your time, but mostly everybody knows her name. It's Rebecca Romaine Stamos. And Steve had pronounced it Rebecca Ramjin Stamos. He just, when you first look at it, you don't know. Yeah, you can butcher, but man, did he butcher that name. And also, just want to note, this is when Greg Hill started his basically War of the Roses. He started his Please Stay Tom campaign to get Tom Brady to stay. There were also this week, there were a lot of complaints about short shows, which really pissed Kirk off. There was one short show, short being under 2 hours, still over an hour. His obligation is 50 minutes, and people were pissed. So Kirk let people have it about that take on quote unquote short shows. There was Steve had never heard of Rebecca Romaine, which he admitted to. Two other things. Remember the P. Carl story in the Boston Globe? I thought that was very
so. When he started becoming a man, about how he started feeling male rage. Is this correct?
Yes, that's part of it. But do you remember the white privilege that he experienced? And do you remember what he got for free?
He went down to he got his car fixed.
Yeah, and got a side mirror for free that goes for $1,200. I don't even get a checkup for free when I go to the mechanic, who is a friend of mine, and say, can you just look at this? You still get charged labor. And this gentleman happened to be driving cross country, and someone felt the need to just give him a mirror. It's so pathetic. It's so Globe. It's unbelievable. But the thing that I loved about this, going back to my notes, it's almost a year to the day about the P. Carl story and the new Bob Holler dog shit story.
Yeah, look at that.
How ridiculous is they must just have a template in the Globe offices that say January, sweeps month, whatever it might be. Let's write a puff piece that's total bullshit.
I think on that calendar we're coming up to the yearly Shirley white beer, white men, too many white men and beer. Like
drinking, that. Yes. Craft brew is white privilege, some horse shit like that. And the only other thing was that was talked about this week of note is Nick Francona was on talking about Gabe Kaplan and what a scumbag he is, trying to cover up for Verdugo. So a lot of sock stock between Mike and Verdugo and Nick Francona. And last thing being that the Wilbur show the tickets went on sale the following week.
Yes.
It was quite a week. And so everything else it's Madawaska Ho, and that'll be next week. We can talk about that.
So before we wrap things up, I just want to ask you one thing and then say one thing. I want to ask you, so Truck Day was not, I'm sorry. Truck Day was Truck Day the death of Steve Robinson, but it was not. That was
it was not.
First Media Day. My apologies.
Yes.
And
when he didn't cut up the media.
Jim, I'm going to be honest with you.
Please. And everybody watching.
I miss Madawaska. I want to head up there sometime this month. Spend a weekend up there. Go ice fishing. Yeah, I got an ice fishing tent. I don't know. I mean, I'll drive up there by myself. I'd like to see if I could catch some fish. I know we didn't catch many fish last year. Were you in Madawaska?
Oh, you just got to stick that dagger in, don't you? No. My son's had a hockey tournament.
Yeah. No hockey tournament.
What was it called?
But so I'd love to go back up and just try to ice fish and catch some fish. So
the only thing I'd say is nothing's stopping you, but based on recent experience, please bring someone with you. All right, buddy. We want you back here doing the wrap-up show and throwing up in a bucket. All right, that means a lot to a lot of us. But I think that would be a great trip. And I almost forgot. This week, the show also called Paradise Market again, and they didn't get Stacy. Do you remember the woman they got? Which Steve claimed was M-I-N-O or M-I-N-O-U-X. He totally butchered the name. He butchered the spelling. So when Kirk talks about he gives off an air, Steve is very confident in what he says, and I love that about him. But he was so freaking wrong. It's on a follow-up episode of the woman's name, and it was not even close to Manu. Yes. He was saying it was a French name. They were in Saint Agathe, so of course it's a French name, and it turned out to be something like Marianne. Nothing crazy.
So The last thing I want to say, I forgot to bring this up when we were talking trivia, is Steve brought up today. He's like, well, what if Justin would make a better contestant?
Yes, that's right.
So
That's right.
I want to say I already have a role on the trivia team. I am the lead scout, and I don't know if you what Steve said on the podcast for my scouting report. It was pretty spot on.
I was going to ask you that. So it did turn. It was pretty accurate, huh?
Yes, it was very accurate.
How many episodes did you say you ended up watching? It wasn't just a couple, right?
No, I watched every single one they've ever been on.
So you scouting for these guys for next week?
If they're on next week, I'll start scouting. But I'm not gonna start.
Oh, that's right. They had said, and Kirk did end up saying he's gonna live or die with these guys.
I like that. I think it means so much more because like you said, he could team up with Brandon Walker and.
Yep. He wanted his crew.
No,
his crew.
That's stupid. No, he's bringing the Kirk Minahan show.
Plus, how great will it be when Barstool Boston, the Kirk Minahan show, winds up #1? That is going to piss everybody off, except for Frank. Frank will be walking around the office looking for him to congratulate them.
Awesome. Well, that does it for me. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, one last thing. I was going to put a tweet out last night, but decided I'm going to wait till this show to announce it, given that there was trivia. So finally, have a big announcement. It's been a few weeks of announcements. The KMS Trivia game show is going to happen. So I will send out a tweet. It's in, yes, KMS History. Yep. So I've been working with Blind Mike's daddy and Buddy. We've been trying to come up with a game concept, the way it would work. We had a bunch of ideas. I think, frankly, I had too many scatterbrain ideas. What I'm going to do is it's going to be almost a carbon copy of Jeff Lowe's show, but it's just going to be Kirk trivia.
I like it.
KMS Trivia. So same format. You're going to have mutes. You're going to have a call out, maybe a couple little differences. There will be geography. But it'll be something like, what town is Williston, Northampton located in? If you can't get that, then I don't know if you should be on the show. The other thing I want to mention, I am absolutely doing my best not to make this exclusive. 3-person teams. And as long as you have a team, I'm going to do my best to let everybody play because I like the way that Jeff does it. He just ranks you. Like you said, it's not about beating #1. You just get ranked. So I plan on having this go for quite a while, probably have a hiatus in the middle, but the ultimate goal is to wrap it up October 31st of this year, which is Kirk's birthday. So
awesome.
I'm very happy to announce that. Hope to get it off the ground the next 2 weeks. First thing would be if people can just DM me. If they have a team, just send me team name and who's on your team. I don't give a crap who it is. I think the guys from Australia are going to have at least one team, maybe 2. And we'll do weekly, if not twice a week, just so everybody can be accommodated.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. So that does it here on the Kirk Minahan wrap-up show. I will speak to you guys on Friday for with a rare blind mic appearance on a Friday. Talk to you guys then.
Ciao.